What's up, guys? Here I am at a coffee shop in Baja. We just dropped off a bundle of stuff given to us by Petco. Petco Foundation is really big on giving back to charities that help dogs. And so I'm down here at a cafe in Baja Ensenada, and I wanted to make a video about something that's been really interesting to me, which I have experience with Python Flask and some experience with React. So I wanted to also incorporate some machine vision. So I think at this juncture, using TensorFlow or Keras, it might be a bit much for this 45-minute partial talkathon, partial codeathon, but I am confident that I can at least start the project with a Python Flask project using Windows and using Visual Studio and their boilerplate setups. So that's what you'll get out of this video. And also, using Create React app, or maybe I'll probably use Next.js, but I'll really have to assess this server side incorporation of using Next with Python Flask, which intends to have its own server side environment. So that is one area to think out loud, and maybe this will be just an exercise in checking things out. Is that we may not get a whole lot of SEO server side incorporation right out of the box by going Python Flask, just because of the way that server architecture is exists versus something like React. When you create React app, you're going to get a single page application, which inherently is not super SEO friendly out of the box. When you look at a framework like Next.js, they incorporate more of the server side of Node and some other methodologies and approaches to caching code. So, I may pretend to be an expert in all of these little technologies and incorporating them together. I'm getting there. So if I say anything that isn't exactly accurate, just comment on the channel or hit me up on one of the Facebook groups or whatever. Help me out because I'm learning. So let's get down to it. You're going to hear some noises in the background. Occasionally, I will mute to save you from that, and you might hear some music in the background. So, like right now, I think they're just running the garbage disposal for fun. I don't know, but let's get down to it. I think I will mute a little bit here, and there'll be some dead silence. YouTube does have a soundtrack that they are okay with using, but I just have not fallen in love with any of it. So I apologize for the audio, and let's get down to making some stuff. And I don't know what you guys would rather hear, annoying noises in the background or dead silence. Um, but let's start. I'll try to talk through this. So you're going to need Visual Studio. To kind of speed up development, I'm going to use GitHub Desktop, and it's incorporated with my this repo I made, Flask React, and then I put MV for machine vision. I intend to use a Google solution, but I kept it generic as MV. I'd really like to use Google Cloud, one of the services there, but this is a new area for me. So I'm just going to start off with building the Flask and React integration. There are blog posts out there that kind of walk you through it, but rather than sitting here and doing yet another recipe video, I'm just going to wing it and see what I can learn hands-on. So I'll do what I've done before many a times with Flask on Microsoft Visual Studio. Check it. Here we go. So we've got the GitHub env. Now this is the interesting part, is I'll want to get that source code and the GitHub application. They don't have to be in the same projects or in the same repo, but just for ease of use and just knowing where everything's at, I'm gonna want to figure out, how to keep them together. So I think the strategy will be, if I look at this right here, I've got this Git folder here. Now the trick with Visual Studio is that often when you go to run one of their boilerplates, they will create a solution project and then a subfolder, etc. And then so like that's where all the code ends up going. And then since this will be the view library when I do React, I'll probably, when I do run the create React app CLI, I'll do that a couple directories deep. So let's just wing it and see what happens. I might mess up a couple critical steps here and either go with them or start over. But so we got Visual Studio Code, not using it for the moment. Let's fire up Visual Studio, which over the years has continued to be a really amazing rapid application development tool. So Visual Studio 2019. I hope this is my community edition. Let's see if it pops up. Okay, so when you have a Visual Studio 2019 open, you can create a new project. You have to have the Python libraries and a few others. I think the C++ libraries as well. It tells you all the stuff, so you'll have it. You'll know what's up. And then you create a new project. And then when you go to create a new project, they have these sort of like pre-built boilerplates. And I hope I have, and this is the problem, is I just did kind of wing this. I'm not sure I even have the Python, nothing. Gosh darn it. So I guess I wasn't ready. Wait, let's see if we can get this. Gosh darn it, guys. I'm sorry about that. So while we're doing that, maybe we can, all right, let's install some more tools. And I hate to put you through watching me download stuff. So let's see how quickly we can get these required libs. Oh, come on, please. It never fails. There's always there's always an update. It's like, hey, we need to make an emergency change on, can we just, oh, that'll be easy. Let's just get down to it. Hold on, we need to update. So, okay, our bandwidth isn't the greatest, but it's, looks like it's going to be a couple minutes and then we'll get this needed update. And then we're going to basically get, I think, something like the Python library something, you'll see. So what can I do to fill the time while we're getting these downloads? I guess let's Google around and take a look at what people have pulled off. Here we have, ¿cómo estás? Python, Flask, and React JS. Now I had actually typed in Python, Flask, and React JS with Google Cloud AI, I think something like that. And interesting, getting started with Python, Google Cloud. So that's something to look at. How to build a web app using Python, Flask, and Google App Engine. Flask, remote Python. Let's go back to, I think I typed in Python Flask with React JS. What is it? I posted it on LinkedIn. I don't have to go look for it. I'm lazy. Python Flask with React JS and AI, which is such a generic term. There we go. Create a complete machine learning web application. So, I mean, maybe I'll make a separate video where I actually follow directions, but sometimes these things go out of date. This was in, oh, it's April, it's still new enough. And sometimes I actually learn a little quicker when I have to muddle through. But let's see, the front end is developed in React and will include a single page with a form to submit the input values. Okay, I got that. The back end is developed with Flask, which exposes prediction endpoints. Cool. I wonder if they're using Flask RESTful to predict using a trained classifier and send the result back to the front end for easy consumption. Sounds easy. The GitHub repo is here. Let's just take a peek at it. Let's see what's going on with our download. Lagging. Doesn't look like a big project. Okay, that's cool. So example, then you got a service, then you got the UI. This is an interesting folder construction. There's a guide there. I mean, this guy already has me beat hands down, but I'm gonna just muddle through and make my own. The service, the iris model for docs. Interesting. Classifier, iris data, the model generator, requirements. So yeah, that's for the Pi. Very cool, not bad. I'll have to try to build this on my own and see what's up. You got your public and your SRC. This looks a little Reacty. Is that what this is? Yeah. Wait, is this the project was? Yep. Let's create React app. npm start. So runs the app in development mode. So this will run the React app at localhost 3000. The typical stuff. This is just a default boilerplate that comes out of create React app. Interesting that we have that. And that's what's going to be the interesting question is like when we run the test server to run React, but then you want to run the Python Flask application, which uses its own engine, at least in dev mode. Wonder how he incorporated those two. So he's got something called service. It's app.py. Let's take a look at some of the code. Interesting. JSONify, make response. I think that's from the Flask RESTful. I'll have to remember. It's been a while. The request, maybe not. Flask REST Plus. Oh, that's a new one. Import API resource. That's familiar. Get your fields. Okay, so here's some AI stuff, I believe. sklearn. Very cool, very cool. That could be prettier, but that's just the output of this raw view. I like that. Okay, the namespace routes. I can't recall. Is he using blueprints? From data, return response JSON. So we just basically return the JSON. Could not make prediction. That's for the error. Return response with the exception. Cool. Allow all origin. That could be tightened up, but that's I get that. Start okay. Yep. Cool. It's really clean, simple. I don't anticipate mine will go this well. He knew you could tell he did what he knew what he was doing. Let's see the UI. Again, I think we looked at that. That's the React app side. Okay, so I get it. He's got the UI. With Webpack, at least in dev mode, we know we're going to get that. But when you compile out, you get sort of static code. And then, like, it's going to basically, on the UI side, let's see where it actually, there's the public, there's the source. When it's compiled out, let's see what the source has to say. App.cs, JS, test, index.js. Very simple React app. Import our service worker from /service worker. I wonder what that is. Interesting. React on the typical stuff. This is the stuff that needs to be investigated. And I'm wondering if that service is the Python Flask service, which does the learning stuff. Start as service worker. I'll have to look up those libs. Very cool. And then it's got tests by default. What does the app have in it? Columns, containers, rows, UI stuff. Okay, cool. State management. Handle change. Handle predict click. Cool. Cancel. And then here's the render. It's got a container. There's the title. Here's a big form, like he said. I mean, I'm tempted to try to get this to run. Always careful of like my reputation, right? If I can't get this guy's project to run, I'll be embarrassed. But I mean, I think it would be something like reading the directions. Let's see how our download's going on our end. Okay, it looks like something completed. So it brings up this installer, guys. Switching back over to updating the Visual Studio Builder environment, and then what we want are these Python development, editing, debugging, interactive development, and source control for Python. So let's take that, and then I don't know why that's checked. I must have installed that already, and that's not required. These might be required at some point, but it'll tell us. Python native development tools, Azure stuff, don't need to do that today. Sometimes it's nice to support the different versions of Python. It's like, for instance, we're just going with Python 3 right now. I'm also going to throw in Python 2, 64-bit. And then there's been issues on Windows with 32 versus 64. Ugh, it can get messy, so I'm just not sure. Let's keep it clean and go with Python 3.6.4. It's under here. More stuff. Okay, modify. Let's get that stuff. And then that shouldn't be too big of a download. So far, I think this video is going great. Uh-oh. Save your work, we need to close. Okay, cool. That's I got PTSD for these these tools sometimes I'm like, what's gonna break next? So let's close Visual Studio. Retry. Okay, shoot. So luckily I didn't go live because the bandwidth here isn't exactly monstrous. I do have an office here that I can go to, but we're currently using it for um, a couple of our rescue dogs that are going back over to the States to meet their new owners. So we're giving that space over there the attention. So that's why I came to the coffee shop, and yeah, just kind of trying to stay focused here. So taking a look at this guy's ML, what's his name? First of all, I gotta follow him. KB22, what a cool name. Karan Bana. Man, what a sharp dresser too. Really need to up my game there. I'm gonna follow him. What else has he been? Web scraping using Python, Miliki, understanding Flask and Flask RESTful Plus. So Flask REST Plus is new to me, but I could guess that it's like Flask RESTful but enhanced. It's been plussed up. And then color identification using machine learning. Man, the one thing about following all these folks is I've followed so many people and I forget what they're good at. So it's like, can I follow this guy anywhere else? I'm gonna send him an email. Say what's up. Am I gonna do that? I guess I am. Why not, dude? We're waiting for the downloads. Okay, let's get these going. Now everybody can see my emails. Not much going on. Oh, let's not flash it forever, guys. Come on, pick up that bandwidth. Hmm. Must really be taxing the coffee shop bandwidth here. 3 of 37. I'm just gonna sit here and watch this dial. This is right about when everybody tunes out, right? They're like, okay, this is boring. I'm not learning anything. Please stand by. So I'm gonna email him and say, your repo is very helpful. Thank you. Hi, I'm Chad. Just wanted to say thanks for your great articles about Flask and React and AI. Warmest regards. And then it has all my contact info, so maybe he'll add me on LinkedIn. Super cool. Okay, we're almost there with that download. And then let's see what his directions are on his repo, ML React app template. Not sure we were looking at that. So I'm doing my best to kind of talk through this and still get stuff done. I'm going to watch this repo. I'll star it because he deserves it. And maybe I'll fork it just to maybe make some mods to it. Let's fork it. Show the guy respect there. He's got 148 forks, 149 now. So people must be highly interested in this. Yeah, because the Jinja templating language, for the deeper you dive into it, it gets a little messy looking, but it can do a lot. But it sort of has that paradigm of like pre-processed on the server and then spit out to the page on reload. You can still leverage services and spit small pieces to using the Ajaxy model on the client on the front end, but React is sort of a supercharged approach to a reactive component design front end rather than managing all that yourself, I guess, in the older school way. So ML React app, there's the repo, yep, we're on it. 25 commits. Makes me feel like you did all the work and then just committed. Okay, so let's clone or download. Open in desktop, go for it, clone, and then I didn't see like any like real directions on how to build this thing. And I didn't see a solution file. I guess he didn't build his Python Flask env like I'm going to with Visual Studio, so that's understandable. We're starting to run into some issues. Let's try. So here it says nothing to do, but then if we go to like this example, this has the service and the Hey, I gotta fix that billing issue. I don't want to undo it. I guess I should undo it. It's so embarrassing. I'm trying to record here. So like here, service UI, update the iris model, add a sample example using iris data set. So I imagine that like this example will just run. It might need some builds. Like we'd have to npm run build, or at least npm install this, and then you got this, which is the service. Thank God that stopped. That was loud. I recommend extreme programming while extreme noise is happening. Okay, UI service. I don't know. I always embarrass myself trying to think, talk, and build these stuff, but let's try it anyways. So here we have the guy's stuff, and we can just go with Open Visual Studio Code for that. I do love some GUIs to save on time a little bit. Here's the example. So down here he has the UI, and then that's root of that app. Let's reveal that in Explorer, get the path, go to CMD, CD to that, and then we will do an npm install, and then just cross our fingers. All kinds of warnings. You know, this npm audit fix, I'm gonna lay some money that it doesn't fix too moderate severities. See if it can fix them. Who wants to bet that it won't? I've no package. Okay. So that is another point. When there's no package, you have to do an npm init, and it'll run you a wizard. Isn't that right? Or is it npmi? There it is. Yeah, we'll take that, take that, we'll take that. Is the entry point index.js? Am I in the wrong directory? My bad, guys. Let's cut out of that. See, that's the embarrassing point. It's like I messed up and I messed up. Oh, goodness. Let's get this package JSON out of here. Let's pretend I didn't mess up, and we'll go directly into the UI directory, which is, oh my goodness. CD to UI, and then let's run npm install. So yeah, past 1 minute, don't take notes on that one. This is going better. Yep, we got a whole lot of new stuff. Again, we're just looking at something that someone had written an article about. They spent some time on it. With only 25 commits, I have to guesstimate they already did a lot of this work offline and then did some incremental commits for this build out and for their tutorial. Because an application like this, I would imagine you'd have at least, I don't know, quite a bit more commits building it from the ground up. But who knows? You know, I'll have to get to know the guy and see how experienced he is with these latest technologies. But yeah, 25 commits isn't a lot. So let's see. So far, so good. And then we've got on the Visual Studio side, let's go check that. C Python.exe. Come on, hurry up, computer. I blame the web. All right, then. Literally, let's go back to his article and see what he has to say. The React is a library by Facebook. Flask and RESTful allows to define a service in Python. Description, da da da. This is what the UI is going to look like. Super simple, simple, simple. Flag out as a post endpoint prediction, accepts the input values via JSON. Yep. Use the same data to make prediction using the classifier stored in there. Yay. Starting template, clone the repo. Oh, here's all the directions. In the first terminal, go inside the UI folder using cdui. I made that small mistake. Stayed one tier up. Make sure you're using the Node version 10.4.1. Once inside the folder, run the yarn install. Yarn, damn it. I did npm. To run the UI in the server, we'll use serve. We'll begin by installing the serve globally post, which will be run by using. Goodness gracious. Hey. Okay, guys, I should have read the directions. And now, like, there's a yarn lock. Goodness gracious. Let's just run, even though it's duplicative. I didn't see a the package JSON file. It's there, but there's no lock. Let me kill that. This is not the first time when I do videos that I just don't bother to read the directions and just start hacking on it. But I have to admit that when I'm not on a video, I have a tendency to read just 5% more. So that's the takeaway there. But it looks like we're going to have a package JSON file and a yarn lock file. And so I went ahead and reran the yarn install as per his blog documentation. And that should clear up any missing issues with the Node package manager in case there is any. And we wait. Check in on Visual Studio installer. Of course there needs to be an update. Of course. Another update, guys. Cool. And that's the thing with Microsoft is it's like update, update, update. All right. So where'd we go with? Is that where we left off with our yarn install? Yeah. See, just like there's a few warnings, but it looks a little less threatening. Equal. All right. But it didn't come back with these vulnerabilities. The current version yarn is out of date. And we'll take care of that right after this amazing video. Okay. So now he said we've got our app, and we need to install this stuff. npm install -g serve. So he's going to globally install that. Rollback. Then he wants us to do run build. Wait, to run the we will serve, we will begin by installing the server. By then finally running the UI using serve on port 3000. So yeah, same directory, npm run build, and then serve -s build -l3000. Or is that a 1? And we wait. And we wait. So I guess let's just kind of go back and take a look towards datascience.com. I like that name because clearly he has application development experience and also data science, and he's into ML. So yeah, bridging that gap for long time full stacks, that's pretty cool. I like this post, it comes up nicely. So yeah, I'd mentioned this one on a post on LinkedIn that I was going to look through this, and let's just see how it goes. If this thing starts up straight out of the box, I'm going to be super stoked. So there it is. I think we're done with that. And then so according to his blog, we ran that, then we run the build command, which will actually build out the React app for production, I believe. Yep. Using the CLI for create React app. It runs the React scripts. Looking good, looking good. Feeling great. Good job, robot machine, doing all the hard work. Please run next command yarn upgrade cause light browser list. I really should be upgrading this stuff, but I just want to see what I can get running out of the gate. Mostly for entertainment purposes here. And this will be our next command. As soon as this is done. Is it mad at us? Great. Great. And then let's run the last command that the gentleman said to run, which will cause the server to start up. Oh, come on, guys. It can't be this easy. It just can't be this easy. Making me rethink my whole approach to it. And there it is. I don't see his graphics yet. Boom, there it is. Wow, what an amazing guy. Okay, so the iris plant classifier, sepal length, sepal width, petal length, petal width. It's pretty cool, man. Well, let's see it run. Are we getting an error? Let's take a look. I have a feeling we needed to start up the other server. If there is one, there must be. Or maybe it could very well be my Python isn't the right version because I'm using 3. But we got pretty far. No errors from the console. Come on, guys. No errors, and yet it doesn't work. What's this? Connection refused. Failed to fetch. That's an obvious one. Either it's not running, or it looks at it as a foreign domain. One of the both. Let's see if we can. This could be a Microsoft-y thing. The server doesn't appear to be, well, no, it doesn't appear to be running. What happens if we do localhost? So simple stuff. We get that other server running. On your network. I wonder what this will do. I wonder if it'll play nicer from a. This seems like a Microsoft local security issue. No, nothing there. Server's not started, or how can we guarantee that it is? Let's go back and read his docs. Oh, still not up. Duh. Guys, yet again, didn't read the document. Preparing that service on the second terminal. Move inside the service folder. I'm so embarrassed. Hey, it's semi-live TV, and I'm not going to edit any of this video. So here we'll go to the path in a separate terminal as they asked in the beautiful documentation. Maybe I'll do this a few more times and like go live and just do it, and I'll probably be able to pull it up in 3 minutes flat on the third try. But so far, so good. I mean, I get what he's doing. We're going to traverse here. Whoops. CD, traverse here. CD to the service. Let's see what's in there. Oops. PWD. DIR, I mean, Windows. Classifier. Cool. All right, he's going to want us to start the server. So we have to create a virtual env for Python 3, which we're using. He wants to create it in this directory. Gotcha. It makes it more fun to kind of, just kind of do it. You can read about virtual. We will then install. So my virtual env command is not working. So we got to get that installed. And that's going to be a Python 3 thing. Thank goodness we're not trusting my memory. right. Windows virtual env command. I newly created a pip and virtual env. All right. So I probably don't have pip yet. Literally haven't set up this Windows environment. Oh God, can we get some more ads? Python get pip.py. In your command now it says cd to desktop. Get out of here. I remember the web when it didn't have ads all over it. All right, let's just go to a new. What the heck is desktop? Whatever. cd. Can we do it here? Come on. This is where it gets painful to actually like properly install things. Come on. What? Okay, let's see if that's in there. It's the C drive. Please be there. I don't see you. Get pip.py. Oh lordy, I thought I had Python installed on this thing. Be people at home laughing at me. Install pip Windows. I literally thought I was ready for this. How to install pip on Windows. Call a specialist. And we wait. Can it be? Pre-flight check. Python is not recognized. Download git-py to a folder on your computer. Open and run that. Once you've confirmed that Python is correctly installed, you can install Python 3. Could have swore Visual Studio has been working on that for like the whole video here. It'd be awesome if it required a restart in the middle of my video. Okay, not much longer there. I'm hesitant to upset the Python stuff, but Microsoft's not going to probably install Python globally for me anyways, so let's download the latest. Now, what version of Python did he have in his demo? Python 3. Well, that's helpful, dude. Thank you. And so that's going to be $56 seconds. Who's going to stay tuned for this? Guys, I promise this thing's going to run. I can always tell things are going to work because my left eye starts twitching, but if it's my right eye twitching, that's a different type of stress, but it's good stress. It's a little stress, little pressure, get it done. So I'm excited to see this piece work. My plan with the Python Flask is to use Visual Studio's boilerplate. Maybe not in this video now that we'll have something working and we'll generally know we got a working model. I'll show you how I build the Python Flask EMVs using Visual Studio. You can do it other ways too. Of course, you can do it on Linux or Mac. Kind of comes with like a bootstrap site, and then I'll probably want to use the native stuff that's offered by the Flask team. Like maybe I'll look into Python Flask REST Plus, but if it's not like native like to their team, I like to try to get stuff done with what rolls as current before I go using like new custom libs. Depends on the situation, but yeah, so like a RESTful API, and then that'd be the Python Flask piece, and then for the UI, we're literally still gonna have like their static directory, they call it, where they have a template file. There's even concepts of layout. That's like getting into the Ginger world, but with the file, which I believe they have HTML extensions. it'll be trying to figure out how to incorporate. I guess it's two standalone applications and one's just talking over a service. There really isn't like this UI touch point, though you can have an HTML file with the React compilation. It's often called index.html, or we'll have to look. It depends on how you cache it out. Now I'm just babbling. So please disregard any crazy talk. Just thinking in my head here, what kind of architecture will work best. One of these days I'll probably do like an Electron wrapper with React and Python Flask. I'd done it once before for a prediction effort with those guys I know from who do Numerai stuff, and it was Bitcoin related. I basically helped them get all their UI and their charts running and used everything that they built, Jupyter Notebooks, Python Flask, and then I wrapped it all in Electron. So I digress. All right, some just like stream of consciousness stuff there. Let's head in over to Visual Studio, make sure everything's nice, no more updates. Cool. So we can come back and we can start this this project here. We have Python 3.8. I'm gonna see if I start a new command line, if Microsoft did any changes. The heck, Microsoft, stop ghosting over there. All right, let's just run the installers anyways. Install now, install launcher, add Python. That's an important button to press. Let's go, yes. I'm feeling positive. So far, everything's been going good. We've got plenty of Blender sounds in the background, music you can barely hear, me just babbling my streams of consciousness, trying to figure out how to possibly do Python Flask and React integration rather than just like basically two apps talking over a REST service and a client app like a Vue app, a component app like React. They could be a little more tightly bound to utilize, basically replacing Jinja at some points with React. That being said, sometimes you can probably still use server-side delimiters in the static code in React. You would just need to tell React when those things have changed. So you can have, using hooks, you can do stuff like that. And basically, yeah, just thinking down the road here. So let's get rolling. All right, do we have Python? Python. Beautiful. Okay, so where'd we go? We were back over here. The guy says run that in a certain directory where we were way back over here. We just need one more command line open and then everything will be good. All right, in this service, he says run the virtual env-python 3 here. Virtual env is not recognized, so now we'll need pip. So we're going to do this Python git whatever back over here. And sorry guys, just going to start going all over the road here. Let's get crazy. Here in the C drive, we'll do Python git pip py, and then hope that it wrote. Maybe the C drive is protected. I'm not seeing it. They want us to do it on desktop. Can we CD to desktop? Where is desktop? This PC? Come on, guys, give us a real path here. Let's CD. Alright, now you guys are messing me up. Can I just manually download this file? Where is it? Git pip. Let's see if we get a pip. We don't got pip. Pip not recognized. I usually end up having to do this over curl. Download it. Thank you, man. This is what usually has to happen. Come on. Come on, you can give me the raw. Everybody's watching. Cool. All right. That's pretty. Save that. This time to desktop. Whoops, we're not going to do that. We're going to go to C drive, all files, git pip.py, bam. Documents folder, yes, I get it. It's a permissions thing. And save. Gracias. Totally in. Okay, am I seeing this here? Went to, there it is, git pip. And then I could probably just finally, cd to documents, cd to users, cd to the PC name, cd to cd, and then pwd, dir. There's git pip right there. Oh, okay. I think it's Python git pip.py. Come on, you can do it. That was supposed to execute. How embarrassing. Run it with Python, just direct. You gonna do it? Thank you. So I double clicked it. Thank you, Windows. Often the things successfully installed, the things I deal with on Windows are often permission based. And then once all that stuff gets hacked out, we should have pip in a new command line. Pip dash. Beautiful. All right, now that we got pip, holy moly, we can probably now get the virtual env. Pip install virtual env. So smooth, so smooth. I love it when things work successful. Okay, launch the virtual env. Okay, back to his dealios. Here we go. And we go back over to the original CMD, which was over here in service, and we run that. Oh, virtual VNV. Okay, I'm gonna have to restart the terminal. I don't know the command to restart terminal right to where we are. So many things to remember, and I'll get them. Oops, that's not gonna work. Neither is that. Fat fingered that. Okay, this should now run the command that the gentleman wanted. Let's do it, guys. Virtual env -p Python 3 in this directory. Go. Beautiful. Can you hear the song in the background? Okay, so that did something. Then source bin activate is another command. Ugh. I'm not seeing source bin activate. Fun stuff, guys. Fun. All right. Can we just go? Can you go back to? Would you please hit that a little harder? All right. I just need to slow down and calm down. I got excited there for a minute. Source. Service. There's the requirements. I don't feel like it built. I don't see the virtual env folder. Why not? Your documentation. I'm gonna blame it. Install. Oh, we need to install the requirement. Can we just run all of this like this? Let's try this. More holding our breath. Cool. A lot of things moving. My dad would be so proud if he understood computers. We're getting close to the 45-minute mark. I don't know, but we'll be uploading this to my super low subscriber count YouTube channel. And by the 10th time I do this, I'm going to be looking like a star because I guess this is like some muscle memory stuff. But yeah, overall it's going well. The guy's blog is, just to recap for those who stayed tuned, all one of you, towardsdatascience.com. Create a complete machine learning web app using React and Flask. 859-340-BDDDB23. Now the coffee's kicking in. And we're having fun. So let's go. Let's go. Download more stuff. This is the future of my job. Fast forward 5 years, I press one button and wait like 8 hours, and the machines do everything else. So that's fine, I guess. But this is cool. There's the pandas. I really like what he set up here. It's really clean. Let's try to jump ahead to his story. Run that using the template for your own use case. Create the model as a decision tree. I like that. I'll have to share this with some folks I met recently who do a lot of Google Cloud machine vision stuff. Oh God, please, man. See what getting happy does for you. But don't make this a bandwidth issue, please. Always with the pandas. During handling of the above exception, the exception occurred. Cool. So clear. Runtime running. This looks bad. Python setup, egg info, check the logs. Appreciate that, guys. Generate Python pass. Oh, this sounds strangely familiar. Running Pythonize failed. This ain't my first rodeo suffering with this stuff. Come on. This reminds me of that project I did with the Bitcoin folks. Pythonize failed. And I just can't wait to close out the video and be like, hey, it sucked, guys. Sorry it didn't work. But go ahead and try it yourself. Installing SciPy. Do not try installing Python using pip or easy install. Use easy install Python or pip install Python. God, I've been on this forum before. Talk about Groundhog's Day. And you just thrash, and then you hope for the best. Let's just thrash. Yeah, makes it seem real easy, doesn't it? All right. No error. That's beautiful. Flask app. Not it. Come, we give this one more shot, and then we're gonna go down what I really originally wanted to do, which was at least build my app in Visual Studio. Blech. Less errors though. Module not found named Numpy. All right then. Module not found named Numpy. This is what I do on a Saturday. Import error, no module named Numpy. The following error. You must download a newer version of Numpy. Of course, you can simply use or this. Let's do it, guys. 2 thumbs up. Mia, por favor, una base de té verde, por favor. Caliente. Gracias. this works, I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna go back and erase the complaints and replace them with positive affirmations. I have this strange belief that the computer's listening. And if you get really negative, it's like, don't worry, I'll take care of this. And that's a joke. But optimism, it's important. Um, Sometimes when I'm like, oh, here we go, it's not going to work again. Boom, it works every time because it wants to prove me wrong. And now I'm just babbling again. But somewhere between thrashing and hacking on something, you want to be able to repeat the process later. So this is why containerization is really a big deal, because you can keep environments encapsulated and up to date and not have to rebuild an env every time quite like this. So let's just see if we can get this to play nice now with pip install requirements. See if it recognizes we have numpy without having to start a new command line. And I'm staring at code. I mean, so far, no emergency red. Gracias. Muchas gracias. Okay. Big download. Pandas dash 0.24. I read today that green tea is better for you than black tea. So I guessed that one right. I have no idea how, by total accident. And I don't see the terminal doing much. So I will do some Facebooking while I got a comment on one of my posts. My work anniversary. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Congratulations, you worked for years and years. Appreciate that. Seems to be hanging, but and I'm running out of bad jokes. So again, this time, if this doesn't work, we can. Oh God, it's working. Go, 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 go. Got to make it fun. Sick go. Scikit, go. Scikit, go. Computer, listen. You can do this. So just for those taking notes out there, follow the docs. But if you're using Windows, be sure to install numpy separate and whatever else we installed separate, which was, let's recap, Python, and then run those the pip install -r requirements txt file, which has all the libs you'll need in there, and it'll go get everything down and build it for you. And if this works, guys, we're going to start this server. We'll go over to the client side running localhost port 3000, which is a React app leveraging the Webpack web server, I believe, and we will be able to get a prediction about petals, I believe of flowers. That will make my Saturday pretty awesome. And then we'll muddle through whatever I'm trying to do on the Visual Studio Python Flask side, and then run our own Create React app. I'm still just dying to think, should I run the Flask? Should I run Next.js in the Flask app? And really see what is happening there, because I believe with Next.js you can I know Gatsby would work. Gatsby basically caches everything out into physical files for SEO. So in a way, you still get to build the React way. You still get some of the React virtual DOM and a bunch of other things, with that architecture, but you're basically just dealing with cached out files, which would be SEO friendly. So I know Gatsby would work. And then I know I've been told that Next.js has the switches where you can run basically by default, a combo of the Node server plus React to get the SEO friendly. I hate you guys. --dash force the command to use it anyway if must unsupported. Oh God. Microsoft C++ is required. I knew that was going to bite us. Oh, God. Well, this is just so clean. Setup pi, clean for scipy. Okay. All right, rolling. Back, uninstall, error. Man, that really hurt. Whew. How did I know that was going to get us? So Visual Studio wants the C++ libraries. That's what the PC wants. And okay, we're going to hold off on that for a minute. We'll just say that, like, once you get your env set up, this would work. I can tell by all the files he's using and my past experience that we can come back and get this gentleman's build to work. Mr. ML React App template. And I will be visiting the iris plant classifier again soon, but just not in this video. Maybe the next one. I'll come back for round 2. So let's minimize all this. Let's close a bunch of stuff and just start over. And I think I'll give about 15 more minutes just again to run boilerplates. And this could also be its own video where it's like, look, just do it this way. I kind of went on a tangent to look at someone else's stuff, and my Windows environment just needs some more setup. And I just don't, well, if I was to choose modify, they want this. Where is it? I don't know if they wanted this. They wanted C++ something, but not for mobile, desktop, C++ everything. I killed the command where it was mad. iOS, Android, Windows using C++. That should do it. I feel like it would be this, maybe that. Alright, I'll try that build out again. But cool stuff nonetheless. So, guys, let's go back and let's create a new project. What we're going to do now is point our project. So switching context, we are going to make our own Python Flask application. Then we're going to do a create React app, probably inside the same solution, and it'll all be in one GitHub project, nice and coupled there. And then we can do Flask web project right here. We'll go next. So this is the spot where we're going to go over to, let me get rid of this. We're going to go over to example. This is his stuff. We migrated away from that for now. And then we are in the Flask React NV. And I want to go to where that is in Windows. And since there's no files, there's no like, hey, take me there. Open folder, there it is. So this is GitHub, Flask React NV. So this is the location where I'm going to bring that stuff in. So please stand by while I go like that. Location will go there. And then we're gonna, we could call it Flask Web Project 1. But we'll just call it like Flask Project, I guess. This is the gotcha part, is like it will redundantly, let's see if we can get away with just doing this and do that. Because when you place the solution in the same directory, I'll test it out here. It should append that to that and drop it in that same folder. If it doesn't work, let's find out. It might say there's already a directory there. Project already exists. When a project is created, it must be placed in a new folder of the same name. Choose a different name or location. This is where you get that double naming. So I'm just going to put it in there. So it'll have the same name inside the same folder. And go create. Not my favorite situation, but not the first time that's something I've had to set up. So now it's going to drop the solution file and all the files expected into the subdirectory in there. I do agree that the other gentleman's project was more correct, where he separates the UI app from the service and they're standing side by side. I'm creating something a little more like expected to just be part of the same bundle of code. You could certainly argue that that's not the right way. I'm doing it because this is a test and I'm having fun with it. So like for instance, when you look at, and it's mostly because I want to see if I can integrate Jinja and make this like basically extend Python Flask, much like they have the Jinja stuff built in. I want to get React, what we're building with React in, almost as the view library inside of the app. So when you open up this little guy right here, you're going to see templates, and these are the HTML files. It's this directory where I'd really like to see if it's possible that the compiled stuff that comes from React ends up compiling out to here. And I'm not quite ready to make all those configuration changes, nor do I think they're wise, but I am saying these are the defaults for the Python Flask app here, the boilerplate here. Very common to have the templates directory and then the static stuff here. And we also will need a virtual env here, Python 3 by default, but we need to run this app. So notice Visual Studio is telling us use create virtual env, and that's great. You can also run that at the top of env by going like run scripts, or so there's a command somewhere where you can just basically there's a way to just basically have it run the requirements txt that's right here. How did we do that last time? I just wanted to show that it's possible to do without their little banner. Load project dependencies might be the command. So let's just, here, wait, what is this? Python. Okay, so just to keep things cohesive and not always show the alternate way, I'm going to go ahead and run. What? Visual Studio doesn't, ugh. Whatever, let's ignore it. And then create virtual env. So the env environment, basically you get this. It already knows about the requirements txt. This is not much different than what we were trying to do over in command line in the other gentleman's example. Again, I'll get my environment set up with Python, NumPy, pandas, and get all that env in place so that we can just download his stuff, run a couple commands, essentially run two servers, a service, and then the default Webpack server that's running in dev mode for React. And then those two things will work, and it'll just be nice and easy to do that demo. I dragged some of you through my Windows environment setup. So for you Linux users or Mac users, that would have been a big waste of time unless you're interested in the Windows panes. Make this environment available globally, no thanks. You can change your Python envs here. They did put the earlier versions, even though I said don't do it. Must have happened with my global installer. This is the project, this is the env name, and let's go create. So that will now bring a ton of folders down into the env folder over there, all the Python libs. That's hot. Sorry about my my headset too. You get to hear the full swallows. I'm working on that. Everything requires some improvement. So we have Python envs. Notice it dropped all of these: Jinja, Flask, markup. I'm pretty sure if I looked around, there might be somebody who's already interrupting React to a certain degree. I don't know, might be just talking out loud, but I've noticed that being a module approach with Python, a lot of times people just build stuff. You're like, hey, I bet you there's something for that, and then boom, there's a library for it or a module. So this is the default stuff we need here. So I believe we can just press the run against Chrome, which will start the local test web server in Visual Studio. They're making cookies over there. And let's go right here. So it starts Python exe, then runs the local server, and then without a doubt, we now have this mobile-friendly Bootstrap version 4, I believe, Flask app. Very basic. It's got views.py. It's got some very basic code. Hey, let's try calling Microsoft. So that's that. All right. So now we got the Python app Flask app on Visual Studio. If we go over to GitHub desktop, I'm just being lazy. Switch over to Flask React Machine Vision, and we're going to say init Flask vs solution plus code and commit it. So that goes up. It'll be in a subdirectory. So when you look at this GitHub app, you'll be like, what's this big empty directory? Then you'll go into a subdirectory where the solution is, and yes, in there I'm going to store the React project. I should probably, again, consider using a separated project for the two different builds, but I have this dream of like Frankensteining the two together and seeing what I can make happen that isn't normally default. So I will kind of roll them together for that integration challenge. And let's publish the branch. Just to check in on this. It's somewhere over on my rather surfing Flask toolbar. These should be ordered by date. So like, yeah, there's the subfolder, and then there's like the virtual env. Now I should have ignored this because now I've published all the binaries and things that don't need to be stored. That's no bueno. So whatever. I'll go ahead and add that to my git ignore in a little bit and remove that. Then here's the actual application with the init and the views where you can put some routes. There's a better way to do this. Eventually, I usually move routes to a global file, like I forget the name, default.config. But for now, a very start off point, you're going to have sort of this very basic, in view routing mechanism. Super default, super basic. Okay, so we basically want the router to pick up the not index.html, but our actual React app. So in this case, I guess if we can compile out to index.html with React, this would actually route and call that. We will need to push this to see it hosted. Let's just keep rolling and see what happens. So now we need to decide, are we going to go Gatsby, or are we going to go, again, thinking about SEO, I don't know if that's so important for the end goal of this. Probably not. Machine vision is the end goal for this. So let's just go good old native create React app. So how to create a React app. And it's going to be using create new React app with React. They're going to tell us do this, npx, and then cd to that folder, and npm start. So yet another gotcha that when you run this create, I've never tried to use a dot and say create it in this directory. And what would I even call that folder? I'd really like it to end up in the templates directory, but then, and then they have like a public folder, maybe like templates, public. There's a thing in Flask where you can override the pointers in the root of the app to go to static files. So the more I think about this, the more I might almost execute this in the root. Let's take a look at our Visual Studio app, which is our basically our Flask. Did I close Visual Studio? What's going on? There it is. Oh, it's still running. Okay. So yeah, like look at this architecture here. They've got this subfolder that has the majority of the application, but just above it, it's got this like main file where you can kind of set up default stuff. A ton of stuff we could write into here. We can even instantiate global blueprint stuff. We can set up global variables that reference or global pointers to default dot config. This can be helpful here. So here's the Flask React MV app. I guess the question is becoming, where would I stick the React app? And my gut is telling me that if I put it inside this tier next to Flask React MV, it'll have an SRC folder and then a public folder. So if I put it in here, we'll have an SRC folder and a public folder, but that's messy because when we go to deploy, we'll want to deploy all this to prod and we want the SRC directory there. But with Flask, Flask is going to like to know about its application root, /static, templates. It can talk to other modules, especially using blueprints, up one tier or in this tier. So I don't know what I'm saying. I feel like we could just wing it and nobody judge me, okay? I'm just making stuff. We'll move it around later. Please don't judge. And then, so we'll make a new folder and we'll call it, I want to call it public, but we're already going to have a public. I guess I can call it app. I can call it site. Gosh, I really pine over stuff like this. For now, I'm going to call it site. And then inside of there, because I'll have to end up telling Flask that this is a trusted static as well. Like right in here, we got content. Like these are static files that won't change much. And then these are templates where there is HTML, but they also can leverage Jinja. By default, again, you can override these defaults in Flask. So it's like, where could I bridge the gap between doing dynamic variables in the loader file, the single page application? I can put delimiters in there that can be populated by data. Maybe we do like co-branding of the application. I would almost want it to go inside of here, and anything static go here. So for now, goodness gracious, even with blueprints, I can end up registering this site as its own app, which could then have its own sort of paths to static and templates and even their own custom names. So again, this will just be an exercise in getting the two in the same world and getting them set up, and then I'll probably close out the video and then go rethink. And then, like I said, 10 tries at this. I'll have a few different ways to go about it. This is the first try. So here we have open this folder, and we're going to use what they said over here on the World Wide Web, which is how to create a React app, which pretty much have in my head memorized, but I like just reviewing the docs with npx, create React app, and then here whoops, that's GitHub. Boom, boom. There we go, we're gonna run that, and then we'll cd to that, and then you can start the app. All right, let's just get all the source code in there, just get it up to GitHub, and then we'll just sit back and go, where can I move stuff? How should I have done stuff? How can I start up servers? Because with our Python Flask app, we're going to want to figure out what we're doing for a service. We could certainly like make a hacky one without the RESTful stuff, but we'll want to install the RESTful piece, get that running, get it outputting JSON, and then we can start doing various things with Python Flask that leverage some sort of machine vision, whether it be JavaScripty or remote API calls that it proxies and then re-renders, or I don't know. Now I'm just babbling again. So let's get down to business. We are going to run this inside of that. So I think we went there, didn't we? Oh, we're going there. CMD, CD to that. Now, I really wish we could just do the dot for this directory and get everything in this source directory. Again, waving a big flag, I know that this should probably be outside of, it should be outside of the Flask world, but I'm kind of treating it like some of the blueprint modules for now to see if I can get some sort of like deep integration. Again, I know loosely coupled and separations and concerns and whatnot, but the way React has evolved, they've broken some rules, so I'm going to try some stuff too. So here we go. And we don't want to call it my app. We want to call it, Hate React app. This app, super client app. Yeah, yeah, everybody loves it. Okay, paste, run. So now we're going to run a bunch of compilation, download a bunch of stuff from the web. It'll build it all, and then based on the commands available to us, we can run a full build that caches out the default React app. And then we can start figuring out how we want to marry the two. It really will be a service over the wire. So the more that I think about it, the more they should just be two standalone little mini projects. But we'll see what it becomes. So I guess the takeaway is that if you use Windows, you can really get going quickly using the Microsoft Visual Studio Project Builder. I really want to check out Bottle, Python Bottle. Flask is something that is very popular in data science now, which is cool because I've got a lot of experience from the way past, maybe about 2 years back, building a CMS with Flask. It's powerful. The blueprint patterns, and the modularity of the micro framework. Very cool stuff. So, yeah, been wanting to start this for a while. Next video I make, I'll revisit all of this and I'll probably repeat all the steps and rebuild the other gentleman's app to get that running right out of the gate. I'll have a better idea of how we're going to interrupt these two pieces, a Vue application, which is React, and then the Python Flask, which leverages a whole lot of good stuff from Python, which will dig deep into probably machine vision. You know, the other project we were looking at from the gentleman, it does prediction, but I want to try some stuff with machine vision because I've got a lot of web experience, so I just really want to get into like mining graphics or recognizing the user, hopefully for authentication. That's always been big on my list, is how we can auto auth by face and maybe hand gestures in a combo, maybe even recognizing the office behind a person, just little things like that that could help with ease the state of where we are with credentials and authorization and authentication. So, okay, yeah, I think we've hit. Let's check the time check. 9:36. Oof. It's been a fun journey. Okay, happy hacking. So if we run yarn build, bundles the app into static files for production. So that's interesting because I guess kind of to my point is when we bundle the app into static files for production, that's the point is that if we can get those static files and get Python Flask knowing, or just Flask knowing where they are, we could literally start to use server-side delimiters in the HTML templates that are cached out, and it'll treat them as templates. So, for instance, if we wanted to make a co-brandable single-page application, as it boots up and is rendered, those things could be rendered on the fly by default. Since it's the initial load, React won't be too mad about anything. It'll do its Reacty stuff. If things change in the DOM or the virtual DOM, it'll just do what it was already good at doing. And by default, it had already started with, let's say, the correct logo for the whatever, basically based off the subdomain or host address, right? That's how we can do co-branding. So I'm kind of developing the requirements in my head, but I can kind of see that initial load of a React application leveraging the curly brace Jinja template variables in Python Flask. I guess we're not, maybe it was not using the Jinja engine at that template, but, I mean, at that level, but I don't see why you couldn't. If you did do anything in the HTML files that would require like the delimiters to rewrite, like inside of a component, you would just need to tell React to re-render. So let's explore some of that soon. I will run the full build. Yarn build. No package JSON. Oh, do I gotta yarn install? Done. Why is there no package? Oh, I need to CD to the app. My gosh, will I ever get that right? CD to client app, and then yarn build. So that's going to build out the entire application to cache so that it could be routed to. So again, our Python Flask app is using the, I can't say it right, the works test web server. Probably not best to use in production, but we could do some routing as long as we trust that directory called site/client app. We could like load that blueprint route into Flask and say, hey, this is a trusted endpoint. It would just probably run the React app. So let's keep fudging a little bit until I get embarrassed. But no, we'll get some of this working. So build folder is ready to be deployed. You may serve it with a static server, serve-s build. Okay, let's see what they got there. Serve-s build and run that. That's not a great port, is it? Supposedly Flask wanted to use that, but there's been no collision because I stopped it. And so there's our React app. Dandy. And then let's stop that. And then let's see what we have over in Visual Studio's view of the world. I remember. Okay, cool. See, nothing issue. This is that where they get you on folder view. It doesn't even show the site. Gosh dang it. File which may contain Python tests with that can Flask RAM. Install enable PyTest, sure. What did I do? Solution Explorer, Team Explorer, Solution Explorer. There's the project file. Site, beautiful. Okay, yarn lock. There's client app. There's public and source. So that's what I was saying is that we probably want to like this world here. we want to tell Flask about it because it knows about this world here. So let's give that some time to stew, and we'll marry the two. We could probably, again, this site app folder doesn't necessarily belong in Flask React MV, though it's small enough and it is the view that I'm not mad that it's there. Plus, like, it's a small effort. So for now, one team member. So for now, I keep it here. But once I can get services, Flask RESTful running out here, essentially, in like probably a class file right about here, which is one tier up, we'll be leveraging less of these static files. And then this thing would need to run on its own server that it could contact the other server running the service, very similar to the model that the other gentleman showed us. So I'll have to look at his architecture and just really mull it over. And let's get a git commit going and say, let's go create init create React app starter. I'm gonna make a note. This, just so nobody scorns me, this site directory may be better off in another project or location, but for now we are treating it as a module where we can likely use blueprints to put namespace routes to it and see what happens. Okay, disclaimer for everybody out there. This is a test. And with that, guys, we've got all the source in place. My environment's a little more set up, and we've been able to build both the Python Flask app and the React app independently. This is a very common model, like in a MERN stack, you would have database tier, Mongo or MySQL, and then you would have like Express, which is like the framework for Node. And you have a Node, and then you have React. And so with that sort of model, you end up usually running two servers. One is for the web and one is for the services. And then they have like this sort of agreement that they can trust each other and talk. So though this isn't the same architecture, I think my goal is to only have one server need to run, and that'd be the service. And that seems, well, again, I'm not for sure on that. If I can get one server to run the services, but it also runs the client app, that's cool for small apps, right? As far as for like heavy load and the proper architecture, we'll end up running with two servers so that it's like the memory can be allocated to one or the other, and there can be additional client apps built against the service. But for this test, this is a micro application with a microservice, and then hopefully we can stick some prediction in phase 2 and 3 of this Frankensteinian app that I'm making here. So good times, guys. Thanks for checking in, and this is my video, and I'm gonna close it out and say gracias por su ojos. I said thank you for your eyes. Thanks for coming by. My Spanish it needs a lot more practice. But take care, and I'll be looking for the OBS exit button here. Cheers, guys.